Hello, guys. If you're new here, welcome to Life with Courage. Yes, that's how we welcome people on this channel. We welcome you musically. On this channel, we talk about issues related to marriage, family as a whole, parenthood, about business, about a lot of things. So stay glued to this video because I am sure you're going to enjoy it. Before I dive into the content of this video, I just want to appreciate all those that have subscribed to this channel and they keep coming back to watch my videos. And I also want to appreciate you who has not subscribed, but you're always here watching the video. But I don't get why you haven't clicked that subscribe button. It is down there, that red button where they've written subscribe. Just go and press it. Please do so and make sure you like every video that you watch, and if possible you share and make sure you comment so that I know you are there, I know you are watching, and I know you're supporting. So this video, as you can see from the title, we'll be talking about introducing solids to children, I mean babies from 6 months of age, because medically it is advisable to start giving babies food that is what is different from breast milk or formula as from 6 months of age. Though some parents do that before birth, it is advisable and safer to do it from 6 months. Firstly, I want to tell you what solids are. Some people just hear solids every day. I'm introducing solids to my child. Go to YouTube, you have so many videos talking about introduction of solids. What are these solids? In our African context, solids have to do with any food which you give to your child which is not breast milk or formula which you have been giving that child from 0 to 6 months of age. Solids are introduced to add more nutrients to the child's body because from 6 months of age it is medically said that breast milk or formula are not enough to provide every nutrient the child needs. So you need to add a little bit of other things that you eat on a daily basis. Then how do you add it? How do you introduce it to the child's diet? That is what we're going to be talking about. The digestive system of a child is very fragile. So pediatricians advise that if you are to introduce solids from 6 months, you start with one item at a time. I mean one food at a time. Do not mix up foodstuffs when the child is not yet used to, or the child's system has not gotten used to one thing. For example, we have parents in our African society whom, when they want to introduce solids, they give pap to the child. It is not bad to give pap to a child, but what kind of pap do you give to that child? Is it a combination of soya beans, millet, groundnuts, crayfish, red corn, guinea corn? There are so many things. They just add up a lot of things. Is it that combination which you want to introduce as a first meal to your child, or as a transitional meal from just breast milk or just formula into formula and solids, or breast milk and solid? I don't think it's a good idea because you don't know how your baby's system is going to receive it and react to it, and your baby may be allergic to one of the foods that you have introduced or that you have mixed into the pap, but you won't know which one exactly is causing that allergy. That is why it is advisable to introduce one thing at a time to the child so that you can monitor how your child reacts to that food. Moving on, we'll talk about the different kinds of things you can introduce as first meal to a child. There are many nutritive things you can introduce. We have carrot, you have sweet potatoes, you have banana, you have apples, you have pap, normal pap, that is with red corn, you have rice puree, Yeah, I mentioned puree and I'll talk about it. And many other things. Subsequent videos, I'll talk about how to prepare each of these things. So for things like carrots, sweet potatoes, rice, apple, you have to turn them into a puree. What is a puree? You boil all of these things. After washing them thoroughly, you boil them and then you blend to turn into a puree, something that the child can easily swallow. You cannot start giving chunky food to the child. The child is still learning how to swallow that consistency of food. So you start with a puree, something that is lighter, then you get into the thicker consistency, then subsequently you get into little chunks which the child can learn how to chew with the gums or the teeth. So you start with one item. That is the most important thing when introducing solids. Start with one thing. Do not go about mixing many things. Don't go about carrying Tom Brown. Don't start with Tom Brown. Tom Brown is a kind of pap made mostly by Nigerians because it has a lot of ingredients mixed into it. So do not start with that. You can introduce that later on when you must have introduced each of the elements of that Tom Brown. Or do not start with our local pap which has other ingredients mixed into it. Start with one item at a time. And as for homemade food, some people introduce homemade food to their children from day one. I won't advise that because like I said, you don't know how your child's body is going to react to that food. So introduce one thing, even if it's homemade food, maybe corn and okra. Introduce just those two. Do not mix a lot of spices inside the okra. Simple okra will go with fufu corn for a start. And so my baby, she doesn't know how to swallow fufu corn yet. She's 7 months old, but she eats every other thing that is in puree form. So I'm sure you've learned something from this video today. You've learned that when you're about to start introducing solids, make sure you introduce food at a time one food at a time, and give that particular food for about 3 days before you introduce a new one. If you have started with carrot puree, you give carrot puree for 3 days, and you don't force the child to eat much at the start. It's just to make the child to taste the food and get used to it. Then you introduce the next food after 3 days. Could be 2 or 3 days. Introduce the next food, which could be sweet potato puree. You also give the child for 2 to 3 days to taste, and the consistency should be light, should not be too thick, because the child is still getting used to swallowing different consistencies. So do not get it too thick. It will be difficult for the child to swallow. The child tends to gag a lot. Even when it's light, sometimes the child will gag because the child is still learning how to swallow that thing. When I say introduce one type of food and give it for 2 to 3 days, I mean the one you can give it once. Maybe you choose the afternoon when the child has woken up from the nap. You try to introduce this food to the child, and do not force the child to eat. Do not force feed the child at first, because it will make the child to tend to hate food. It will make the child to associate that eating period to punishment or suffering, which is not supposed to be the case. It's supposed to be a pleasurable experience. Yes, the child would subsequently eat maybe at 1 year, 2 years, but what is going to happen if the child refuses to eat before 1 year old? So you have to try to make the child enjoy the process. It is difficult, parents. It's not going to be easy. I assure you, it is not easy. Let me not lie. You will go through stress. There are times you will give one spoon and the child will start screaming, but you have to keep petting the child, sing to the child, play games, do everything to make the child take that food without suffering or without seeing it as punishment. So when you introduce it once during the day. Day 2, same thing. Day 3, you can give it 2 times, and do not give more than 3 to 5 baby eating spoons of that food as you start introducing it. Do not give that child a big bowl of food. It's only from 7 months that I started giving my child more than 5 spoons of food, and I feed her now 3 times a day with her food. Sometimes she eats house food, but she will not eat it as much as she will eat her purees. I don't buy store uh, I don't buy food from the store, baby food from the store, because what's the need? I can still do mine at home. The only different thing I introduce is Cerelac, which is just maybe twice a week. I don't do it often. Or when I have to travel, I take Cerelac because it is most convenient if I'm with the baby. So to end this video, I'll say introduce one meal at a time or one food at a time. Take it slow, do not rush your baby, and do not turn the process into a suffering one or a one that is related to punishment. Thirdly, make sure you verify if your baby is allergic to anything or not, anything you introduce. Fourthly, do not force feed. Do not pin the baby down to eat and close the baby's nose like I see some women do. Let the baby enjoy it. Also, there are some foods that have been seen to give allergies to children, like eggs, nuts. So when you introduce something like egg yolk to your child, please observe for allergies. Or fish, observe for allergies and give fish which is low in mercury to your children. For example, sardine fish, not the one that is canned. Buy a baby sardine and boil, cook it yourself. You can boil, then store in the freezer. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm sure you've learned something from it, and come to the comment section and let me know the different solid foods you can introduce and how you introduce it to your children as well. See you guys in the next video.